Hey everyone, welcome back to Upside Down Data. Today I want to talk about EGLD and where our models think it might be going next. So MultiversX and its native token EGLD have endured a pretty nasty bear market until more recently, where it looks like we might be starting to have formed this low here, and maybe we can start rallying out of it. We've set in a higher low, we look for a higher high after this. And we want to think about how likely is it for EGLD's price to be above where it is right now in the future. Our probabilistic forecast model is a great place to look. So this is a chart that I posted on Twitter yesterday. And this model, if you're not familiar with it, is one that I've been building. What it does is it puts out a probability of how likely is it that price will be above where it is right now 6 months in the future, which is a question I think a lot of us ask. Which direction is the market going to go, and how likely is that outcome? So the blue line here is the probability estimate across time of upside 6 months in the future, and this green line is the actual price of EGLD throughout this time. What you can see is this model did a really great job of navigating the market for EGLD as it went through this market cycle. You can see it was very bullish on EGLD all the way through this point. Then as we went into this point, as this bear market started to loom on the horizon, you'll notice that the model started to get more and more cautious, less and less bullish. And in fact, when we got all the way up to the all-time high, when there was exuberance in the market, people thought EGLD was going to rally off to $1,000 plus, this model was saying not so fast. It was only predicting a 10% probability that price would be above where it is at that point 6 months in the future. And we see it got that call very right. You know, it was basically at that time predicting 90% chances that price would be down, and that's exactly what we ended up seeing coming off of that. And we went into this nasty bear market. But more recently, what we see is that the tone of the market has started to change, and this model has been changing its outlook. And in fact, right around when we hit this local low back in early January or late December is when we saw the market or the model flip bullish. It flipped above 50%, saying there was a greater chance of upside than downside 6 months in the future. Not super extreme in its probability estimate, but still leaning more bullish. Got a pullback below 50, kind of in this, leading into this pullback back here. But now we've popped back above, and currently the level is at around 61% chance of upside 6 months from now. So that's far from 100%, right? But certainly you'd rather be at 61, 62% chance if you're thinking about maybe the possibility of EGLD rallying from here versus 10% like we saw back in here. And so I think it's going to be important here is to watch what EGLD's price does from here. Does it continue to maybe go and set in a higher high and a higher low, start to really kind of establish an uptrend? And then as it's doing that, does this model remain bullish? Does it remain above 50%? And especially, does it get back up to some of these levels over here, which might be really more indicative of this being a more meaningful rally that could take us to some more meaningfully high levels? A shorter term rally just kind of into the range is probably less kind of noteworthy. I think what a lot of people are looking for is that rally that takes us back up to these levels. And so what I'd like to see this model do is not just remain bullish, but ultimately then have it kind of stay at these higher levels. And then if you see this push up to the really high levels, that might be just another signal that a bigger rally is coming. But so far, so good, right? Being at 61, better than being at 10. And if we stay in this kind of higher rally, kind of like we did back here, that's kind of that good first step to think that bullishness might be reasonable. And then can we kind of go into this turbo mode and set things higher? Time will tell. Something I'm going to be looking for with this model. And I think this model is just a great way of kind of assessing which side to be thinking about. What is the probability and which side does it make sense to lean? Does it make sense to lean bullish or bearish? And this is a model you're not going to see anywhere else. You're not going to see a model that looks anything like this anywhere else on YouTube or on crypto Twitter. I've never seen anyone else come up with something like this. But I think that's kind of why this model is so useful, because this is useful data in my opinion. That's why I made this model. I realized no one else was looking at the market like this. No one was trying to make a model that could do this. So I wanted to kind of fill that gap and make this. And so this is something I'm going to continue updating about. I think it's something that gives really useful and unique insight into the market that really is not available elsewhere. So let's look at another model that we have. So this is the medium-term upside downside potential indicator. It's on our website, polaritydigital.com. EGLD.io. Highly recommend checking it out if you have not already. And so what this model does is it's a risk model, essentially. And so basically the higher the value, the higher the risk, the lower the value, the lower the risk. And this is the medium term. So this cares about moves that play out over weeks to months. We also have a short-term version that cares about moves that play over days to weeks. We also have a long-term version that's months to multiple months to even years. You can see those on our website. I'm just going to focus on the medium term because, again, it kind of marries well with what we were just talking about. This being 6 months in the future, this also is reactive to moves that are kind of on the time scale of weeks to months. Kind of a nice fit there. And so what I'm seeing here when I look at EGLD is if you just look at where the medium-term UDPI has been throughout this kind of entire kind of range and slight downtrend that we were in kind of since this main capitulation we saw back in June of 2022, you'll notice that it's at similar levels to where we were back in kind of March and April of 2020, and then again over here in October of 2020. Saw what happened the last two times we were down here. And even within this kind of range, you'll notice that as we got down to these lower points through here, it marked the local lows, the local bottom. See local bottom here, kind of local bottom here before having a brief rally, local bottom here before having a rally. And then as we're going down here, maybe again, local bottom. And as we start to chart a course to the upside, maybe some rallying up is in a possibility. And so what I think is that if the market remains bullish, and especially if we see something like a probabilistic forecast model here get more bullish as well, more excited about EGLD, there's plenty of room to the upside that's plausible from the medium-term UDPI's perspective in the medium term. We're sitting all the way down currently at about -3. And the scale goes from -5 to 5. So we have tons of room to the upside still that we could realistically see, I think. I think seeing a medium-term UDPI rally up to this kind of range would be expected. That would just be kind of if we're in a range-bound rally, maybe back up to some of the range highs. We might go up back to these levels. But I think we could be targeting levels up higher, closer to 0 or a bit above. And then maybe if we really get a big impulse in the crypto market, you can start looking at some of these higher levels up through here, you know, the 2.5s, maybe even the 3s as a possible upside target. But that would require, I think, a really more protracted kind of bullish impulse, that really kind of a bigger alt season to seize the crypto market that would probably take multiple months to play out, really this kind of medium-term time frame, kind of really having to play out over that longer time span. So my first target will just be the top of this kind of range that we've seen back here, these kind of tops, -1.3, -1.4, and then ultimately here about -1.8. So somewhere in this kind of general ballpark, it's being the first target if we start to rally of where I think the medium-term UDPI might catch resistance. But if we're going to break above that, then I'm targeting these higher levels potentially, especially if the broader market kind of really gets that big bullish alt season kind of impulse. So then to kind of wrap up my thoughts about EGLD of where we stand right now, I think EGLD has the potential to be able to start rallying from here, but we'll have to wait and see. I think it's going to have to do some work first to really convince us. It's going to have to break out of this range, and that's when we might think of these higher levels that it's been at the past as coming into focus. And again, this is a good first step that we're seeing in the probabilistic forecast model, but I'd like to see more of this. I'd like to see confirmation of it staying bullish, and then especially if it elevates to these higher levels of bullishness, that would be an even clearer sign of, you know, a bigger rally that might be coming. So really my evaluation right now is so far so good. My kind of bias leans bullish, and that's both because probabilistic forecast model leans bullish. It's gotten things right in the past. You know, do I really think I'm smarter than the model? For me personally, I'm going to be kind of leaning more on what it's saying. Now, that's not financial advice. You should make your own opinions. You should form your own opinions about the data, about the market, and how you think things might go. For me personally, though, when I'm looking at these data, it's hard for me not to lean in the bullish side. Same thing with the medium-term UDPI. But it's critical to say that even though that's kind of the way I lean, that doesn't mean that I think there's a 100% guarantee that EGLD is going to go ripping off to the upside in the immediate future. Not at all. And again, that's kind of borne out by these data. Nice thing about this being probabilistic, right? It's saying 62% chance. It's not saying that it's 100% chance or that's incredibly likely or that's up in the kind of 90s like it was back over here. And so that's where, from a risk management perspective, I think this is going to help kind of calibrate expectations to some degree. That being kind of optimistic or cautiously optimistic seems reasonable, but being, you know, hyper bullish right here it might be a little bit premature. Doesn't mean that EGLD can't go ripping off the upside immediately, but I think it's premature to say with any incredible certainty that that is what's going to happen. So that's what I'm looking at across these models. So I would say if you have not checked out our website yet, definitely go give it a look. You can see not only data in real time for EGLD, down here, MultiversX, also for a bunch of other assets that we're tracking in real time, and a bunch of other models. I show you the medium-term UDPI, we have the short-term, long-term, and we have other models as well that offer key insight into the markets. All right, if you like the content, remember to subscribe to the channel, give the video a like, and follow us on Twitter. Put a lot of updates, indicators, and more over there. And check out our website, polaritydigital.io, for live data from all of our different models.